Hello and welcome to MotorInc First. Today we're going to talk about the new Skoda Kodiaq. But before that, let's quickly take a moment to thank Apollo Tyres for supporting the MotorInc community. Kartik, you drove this car in Pune this time, right?
Yes.
And did you enjoy the car?
Oh, straight to the point. And I guess straight to the point, I can't just jump in and say yes. I have to explain.
Nice. I like it.
Right.
So what you should know about this episode is we don't have QFCs, questions from circles. So even if you go to the app, you won't see them there. This happened at a really short notice, so we've not done that. And now to the Kodiaq. So is it brand new for 2025? Is it an update for 2025?
So it is a new generation. So the Kodiaq came out in 2016. So this is a new gen car.
Okay.
The thing is that the Kodiaq, you're going to know that it's more expensive because of its price tag.
Okay.
It's more expensive by about 7-8 lakhs compared to before.
Okay.
It looks more expensive on the outside. It feels more expensive on the inside. But in terms of the machine itself, the way it drives, it's a small step up. It's not a dramatically richer car in the way it drives. And that's not necessarily a bad thing because the Kodiaq was always a solid car, a very practical SUV, so to speak, a car-like SUV. That was its strength. It gave you 3 rows of seats. It gave you the ground clearance of an SUV. It gave you the driving manners of a sedan, kind of like that. You know, that combination, finding that middle ground, and also feeling premium. So that is what the Kodiaq was good at. And now with this new generation, they've just gone and tweaked that formula a bit to make it more desirable as a perception when you look at it. In the way it drives, I think it is a good combination. It's a car that I admire. So if you say, did I enjoy driving it? There are things that I liked about it, some things that really impressed me. But ask me that question about the Superb or the Octavia. You immediately have emotions and feelings about them which are very strong.
Right.
Like the other day I was just walking in my society and I saw a Superb drive-in and it was far away. I could just see the LED DRL signature. And I was like, man, and you can see the stance of it, the width, that sleekness. And I kept looking at that car and thinking,
what a superb car.
You know what I actually thought, and this is going to feel like an exaggeration. You know how Bentleys are supposed to combine sportiness and luxury?
Yeah.
I said, if you stuck a Bentley badge on this and if it had the other attributes of it, I'd love it. It's such a striking car, right?
Continental GP.
I mean, I'm not a Bentley fan, so maybe it's wrong, but I love that car, right? So, same thing with the Octavia. What a beautiful car. And it's not a sedan thing because at the other end of the spectrum, I love the Kodiaq, the way it drives. We haven't spent more time with it, but from that first drive, very strong feelings about the car. At the same time, we spent a lot of time with the Slavia, but I don't feel so strongly about the Slavia.
Yeah, you felt pretty strongly about the Kodiaq also.
Yeah. I think those are halfway houses for our conditions. That's the main thing. So it's a car that I admire and I respect, and I get why it will work for people. But is it a car that out and out feels special to you? Not quite.
Okay.
Right?
So sorry, but this had a 4x4 also in the previous.
Yes.
It still does.
It still does.
And it is all 4x4s. All Kodiaqs are 4x4.
Correct. So what we've always had in India are the 4x4 variants. We've always had with the petrol engines, we had the diesels also, but we've been having only the petrols with the 7-speed dual clutch automatic. That's been the setup with all-wheel drive.
Okay.
So that formula also remains the same. Now, I'm going to tell you the story as it happened.
Okay.
So we didn't go for the drive that Skoda had planned, which was a night drive and stuff like that. I for one, don't want to drive at night. I get sleepy and then I'm done. I'll pack up, right? So we got the car and in Pune, I had it and I didn't have time to drive it immediately when it came. So all I knew about the Kodiaq was, yes, it's largely the same car in terms of dimensions. It's new, but it's not really dramatically new from whatever, the international launch and stuff like that.
Maybe that's why they were doing the night drive. So you couldn't tell that, oh man, it's the same thing.
Whenever we've said this before, when all this happens, then you're just thinking, what are they trying to hide? Right?
Yeah.
Why so much planning?
Yeah, a non-gimmicky launch and a drive or ride usually suggests we want to focus on the product. The more gimmicks that are introduced, the more you're like, why does this need a gimmick?
Correct.
Yeah.
And in some ways that also we'll see that in the car as well.
Okay.
Okay. So I hadn't seen the car until then, obviously. So I just went to move the car into the parking lot. And the first thing that struck me was, okay, it's different in the flesh, right? Because the older Kodiaq, you could accuse it of being a little bit estate-ish,
Yeah. Yep.
right?
Yep.
Now in this, the face, so there's a little bit of a contradiction here because in one way it feels more SUV, but in another way it feels more sporty and sleek. Okay?
But I suppose that what you've said so far is that this car is always trying to straddle the middle ground constantly. So I'm assuming that would also affect the styling.
Correct. So they've managed to do both things. So it's pretty cool what they've done. So the face immediately looks, I'm not going to call it muscular or something like that. It looks fuller. So the bonnet itself is higher. The car feels more puffed up. So it has more presence immediately. It's got a new design and all of that is there. You can see that in the videos and pictures. The car that I drove was a white color car. The car that you'll see in the video footage that will be there, which was provided by Skoda, that's a bronze, that color car. Okay. So it's that. We had it in white. So you'll see some of those pictures. You'll see some of my pictures. I did drive it at night in Pune as well. But I spent then the next day driving it in the day. So that first impression was that this feels more meaty. Okay, that's the face of it. You go look at it from the side, and it's a longer car. And the wheelbase is the same, but the length is more. The height is a bit lower. The width is a little bit narrow. But I'll ignore that because these things typically come down to mirrors and what is the widest point of the body, like that. Not really in terms of the actual functional width of the car.
Got it.
And when you look at it from the rear, you realize it's longer. It's about 60 mm longer, so it's not much. And the thing is that you'd think it's all been added at the back, but it's actually split between the two. So it makes sense that it's looking meatier up front.
Got it.
It's also looking longer at the rear. And it's a bigger looking car. It's a more premium looking car. It's some of the finishes, like right at the D-pillar, they call this dark chrome or something. It's silver to my eyes. That band. So it's got those kind of details which make it look like a more upmarket car for sure. And it's got all the LED lighting and stuff, which Skoda does very nicely. In the grille, there's a bar that's running through. Handsome looking car. Definitely will make, and this happened, I was driving it on the expressway and I had a previous gen Kodiaq that I passed. And you could see the guy in the car, his eyes like light up saying, oh, that's the new Kodiaq, right? And he followed looking at the car. So this is how I would sum it up. For somebody who has the existing Kodiaq, they would look at this and say, man, should I be going for that? It's a step up. It's looking so nice and all of that. Yes, it will be more desirable. And also when you get in the cabin, but functionally, you're not going to find it a big enough step forward.
Got it.
Right? So the aspiration from the outside angle is taken care of. And now I will go back into the flow of the story. So I moved the car into the parking lot. It was there. And then when I finally got done with the work in the day, I said, come now, I'll go down and check out the car and prep it for the drive the next day. So I went down and started doing the usual things of checking the tire pressures and all. And that's where the small stuff started happening, right? I go open the driver's side door and I'm like looking for the tire pressure label. Can't find it. Okay. So I said, okay, wait. It should be on the door frame. There's a label there. That's not the tire pressure label. I look at the door edge. Okay, it's not there. I said, where could it be? I said, European car, it could be anywhere. Okay, maybe it's under the hood. Okay, check the hood. Not there.
Fuel filler cap.
Fuel filler cap. Went there. Not there. There's a space for an information placard to be there, but there was nothing there. I'm like, dude, where the hell is this? Okay, I checked wherever I thought it could be. I said, maybe it's in the infotainment system, you know. I couldn't find it there. Like, dude, so I had to reach out to Skoda. I'm like, where is this? So they also inquired and then they came back to me. Guess where it is. Guess.
It's on the passenger side door frame.
Yeah. It's the rear passenger door. Sorry, rear, behind the driver, on the rear door.
So the chauffeur's going to ask, Saab, tire pressure kya hai? Saab will open the door, look down and tell you.
And I asked Skoda, why is it there? No, it just happens to be there. I have not been in any car where I remember finding the tire pressure label on the rear passenger door. Have you?
Yeah, never. No.
So if any of you have, please let us know. This is the first for me. So I literally spent 15-20 minutes trying to figure out where this is. Couldn't find it. And it was at night again, so I would have missed that.
No, but it's not a normal place to find it in the first place.
And I checked the front passenger door as well, right? To see maybe it's
Because left-hand drive hai, to ho sakta hai.
कुछ भी हो सकता है. So it was, so anyway, so that was that.
But Kartik, tire pressures are not super critical, right? I mean, it's just air.
Exactly. And that's the problem. Because most people will think of tire pressures as, why do I have to think about it unless and until I have a puncture?
Yeah.
And when you consider that that's what's keeping you in touch with the road,
Yeah.
the importance of pressures in the tires is just massively high.
Yeah.
Which is why even the choice of tires is important in any vehicle.
Really? Explain, Kartik.
No, especially like, now think about this. We're talking about the Kodiaq and saying it manages to do two things well. It's doing luxury and it does travel, right? It's doing this middle ground of practicality and comfort.
Right.
Now, if you think about how our conditions are in terms of we're getting better and better roads where you can travel faster, quicker. So you want better on-road performance. And I definitely, one of the things I will look for is, aside from grip, is also sound levels, that consistency in different conditions, so that you have a tire that works in all kinds of conditions on the road.
Right.
And for SUVs, you'd also want something that can deal with our, let's say, interesting,
Unexpectedly good roads.
unexpected conditions, right?
Yeah.
So finding that right balance for a tire is super critical, irrespective of the vehicle. But with SUVs, it's all the more important because you are expecting them to rough it out as a part of their DNA.
Right.
And so, yeah, choice of tires is important. And on that note, Apollo are the sponsors of this episode. They have an Aptera 82, which is meant for SUVs. So check it out.
Yeah. And the idea is, if you're going to do a balance thing with your SUV, then you want a tire that does balance. And the AT usually stands for all terrain, whereas MT would be mud.
Correct.
And if you're not going into the mud, you don't need that tire. And it's going to affect you negatively in other conditions. So empty tires on the highway, they're just noisy and not so great.
Exactly. That's a good point. So in the night, I was checking the pressures. The pressures turned out to be 34. And that's when I realized the other thing. This car has those fancy wheels. So it comes with the same 18-inch wheels as before. But they look different. They are this aero style, which is an insert on the wheel itself. It's an alloy wheel with a plastic insert on it.
Got it.
It feels like an afterthought to me because the access to the valve caps is so difficult. So difficult because it's in there. You have to poke your fingers in and it's not really a nice, easy way to access the valve caps.
Why doesn't Skoda want you to adjust your tire pressure? It's very interesting.
And there's more weight on the tire pressure front. So it was 34. It should be 36. So it was adjusted to 36. And then I was like, while I was checking for the tire pressure, I said, oh, wait. Obviously, it'll be there in the car instrument cluster because it'll be a tire pressure display. Guess what?
It has only a warning system.
This is something we've been saying Skoda should have on all their cars, the India-made cars, but it's not there on the Kodiaq also. So this was a bit of a shocker for me. I don't know if the previous gen Kodiaq had it. But
if you have a previous gen Kodiaq, would you let us know in the comments if your car has a TPMS constant readout system or just a system that warns you when the pressure is too low?
So yeah, does it give you a pressure readout? Yes or no? Okay. So this was the night preparation part. I said, now that I've done so much, I might as well go and drive it at night. So I went out because I thought that, they had a night drive. It must be to do with the headlamps, the lighting and all of that. So I went out and drove it and I realized that I drove it in the city, went out onto the highway as well a little bit to see if there's active headlamps and all of that. It doesn't. It doesn't have ADAS also. And that's the thing that Skoda also said, that we do not have ADAS. We would like to have ADAS and the active headlamps. What Audi came up with first, the matrix. So the LED matrix setup that Skoda offers internationally, that's not available here.
Okay.
Right. So I drove it around and got a sense of the car and saw that the headlamps aspect is just their LEDs. Good, bright, but not the active, funky variety or anything like that.
Okay.
And in that, my focus on the inside became the experience with the cabin.
Sure.
And some of the things that really stayed with me and or actually got my attention at first was the finish for the cabin. Now you have like this, earlier it used to be a plastic finish on the dashboard. Now it's got this leatherette wrap, nice stitching for the leatherette wrap. And also on the door pads, they've got this finish, which is gray and it has a wax-like look to it. It's waxy.
Okay.
So it's strange. Again, not seen something like that before. You almost feel like, and I did it, like I poked my nail into it, like, like you do in wax and expect it to peel a little bit. It looks like that.
Got it.
So they've got some, and they've also said that it has sustainable materials and things like that. So the cabin certainly looks more premium on the inside. It looks interesting. The layout is similar to before. The highlight in terms of equipment change here is that now there's a 13-inch screen. It used to be an 8-inch screen earlier. The good thing there is while they have minimized buttons, the screen menus are easy to use. The functionalities that you want to access are all there. And one of the things I wish wasn't in the screen was when I was driving around at night, I was just like looking for how to activate auto hold. I can see the other buttons here, but I can't find auto hold anywhere. I was like, how can this car not have auto hold? And I'm going on looking around the center console and here and there. And the next day, I spent time going through the screen and I realized it's in one of the menus. So auto hold has to be activated from there. A lot of controls are from there, but like a feature like auto hold, which we're used to having a toggle for easily accessible, that's also in the screen.
Okay.
The other highlight, so to speak, over here in terms of all these things is what Skoda calls smart dials.
Smart dials.
Yeah. So they've got 3 rotary controls.
And they switch between functions.
Correct. So we've seen this now with different vehicles as well. So the thing is, you got to click them in, push them in, and they'll switch to the other mode. So the center one is configurable.
Okay.
So you can change it.
So it's a shortcut for whatever you prefer to have.
Correct.
Got it.
And the side ones have preset menus. So that's a toggle between temperature, blower controls. Sorry, I might be confusing it, but yes, definitely one of the things was seat heating.
Okay.
And seat ventilation. And so that kept annoying me that I had to always toggle through seat heating to get to seat ventilation. It just felt like, hey, should have made all 3 customizable.
Right.
But anyway, so that's what it is. While feeling around the car like this at night, one of the senses for me was I wish it had richer materials at the touch points.
Okay.
So the dials, they have this nice grippy texture to them. But you can see they're plastic. Same way, the steering is that 2-spoke design that we get with all the Skodas here. It also has the scroll wheels. And I've been giving the Slavia grief that they feel plasticky. They feel plasticky here as well.
Okay.
Then now they have a different kind of drive selector, which is like, how Mercedes used to have the stock? Or rather what now we saw last with the Ioniq, where it's a stock and with this twisty thing on the top, it's like that.
Okay.
That's also plastic. And it feels plasticky.
Yeah.
So a lot of the touch points are feeling plasticky. And it's the same thing even for the wheel covers, the aero covers.
Yeah.
They feel plasticky, right?
Got it.
So in some ways, that sense, that perception of luxury via these touch points isn't being nailed.
Got it.
Are you missing out on the sense of design, the equipment? Is the equipment bad? No, the screen is great. Both the screens, the driver's cluster, all of that is good. All the usual Skoda stuff is thoughtful. So door pocket's good. Center console, so much storage. You have a tray. There are 2 wireless charger slots. And this was the really cool stuff. The wireless charger slots are angled nicely. So your phone just stays, it doesn't move anywhere. Otherwise, half the time you have to keep adjusting your phone, is it centered or not? It just fits in nicely.
Nice.
So good center console, 2 cup holders, storage, which can also convert into a cup holder. You just slide a tray.
It doesn't matter, no, India doesn't have coffee culture.
I was thinking about that. And then there's more storage under the armrest. So, and 2 glove boxes, which it always had earlier, but it has all of this, right? So it's a very practical car. So those strengths of the Kodiaq remain.
So it's a clever car. It may not be simply clever.
Yeah. So, sidetrack mat kar. Kya tha?
Sorry. You were talking about how much storage space and it's a practical car, but you're saying the luxury quotient could have been improved with small touches.
Right. So that was the experience at night about the driving and the front seats. Next day, then I got out to drive and started focusing on the rest of it. One of the things that hit home at that point when I started trying to find the right driving position and all of that was that, man, these front seats are incredible.
Oh,
They are large. They must have always been that way. I'm not sure if they're different from the previous Kodiaq, but you know what it's like sitting in them? It's like sitting in a chair.
oh, nice.
They are that high off the floor. And the seat back, like I measured it like that, like where my shoulder ends and to where the seat back top is another that much.
Oh, wow. Okay.
The seats are massive. So if you're tall, you're going to be comfortable in these
But a
front
Kodiaq
seats.
is a bear, right? So they must be making accommodations for a larger person.
Bears will be comfortable here. So brown bears. Grizzlies might be a bit much. Anyways, so the front seats, superb.
Nice.
Right? You have under thigh adjustment. They have that extension cushion,
Yeah, yeah.
which is manual, but everything else is motorized.
Got it.
Even the passenger seat has the welcome function and all of that. So 12
Welcome function being the seat opens.
the seat slides back, help you get in and all of that. So great front seats. It took me time to adjust the seat because by reflex you'll set it at a certain distance from the steering wheel and all, right?
Yeah.
And then I'm like, no, I'm not comfortable. And then I realized that, dude, you're sitting so high up relative to where you usually
have to find
sit
completely
that
new
I
way to
had to
approach
move forward and then adjust the steering for myself.
Got it.
So, and that was a really interesting point for me, and that has a knock-on effect in the back seat as well.
Okay.
So, moving to the back seat, comfortable. Again, the seats high, and the cushioning for the seats, both front and rear, is taut, not soft. It's the kind of cushioning we like because that means when you really spend time in the car, you will stay fatigue-free for longer.
Correct.
So again, the functionality of the car remains even in the details so nice and strong.
Yeah, so just to re-emphasize this point, this is true for motorcycle seats and car seats both. If you have a very nice soft cushion, you will be impressed at the test drive. It's designed to do that to you. But when you start trying to live with that car for longer distances and longer road trips, you start sinking into the softer cushions and then the support starts to go away. A firm seat will not be so impressive on day one, but a year, 2, 3 years later, you will be so happy with this seat because the fundamental support structure doesn't change in any way at all. So when you see a really stiff seat on a car or on a bike, don't automatically reject it. Over a longer duration of ownership, they actually work out better.
Also, think about it from the physical movement of things, right? When the seat cushioning is soft, it actually creates more movement. When it's firm, you just stay settled. And those, we don't think of it that way, but the more you keep moving, the more fatigue it adds in. And I learned this on the classic 350 when it first came out with the
Spring
springers.
seat, yeah.
Right? Because
It sounds like a good idea, but it's not.
it's a terrible idea. It was extra tiring. So that's why firmer seats like this, we like Shumi said, first impressions may not be great, but you will enjoy them the more time you spend with them. So again, the ergonomics, the seating position, the space, good. Headroom, not an issue. Even 6-footers will be fine here. But as with the Kodiaq before, like for somebody like me who's short, the sense of space is not great. One of the reasons is the shoulder line is high. And the other are those tall seats at the front.
They block off your
It just
view.
blocks off your view.
Got it.
So and they're really tall, right? So it's literally standing in front of you like that.
Right.
So it doesn't have the same sense of luxury because of that, because that sense of space is a small thing,
Right.
but in terms of how you perceive your time there, then changes a lot.
Right.
Will you be functionally uncomfortable there? No.
But your chauffeur's having a more premium experience than you are.
So it's the person in the front who will enjoy this way more than the people in the back.
Yeah, and this is not necessarily a criticism, okay? In Europe, for example, a Kodiaq will largely be self-driven.
Yeah.
And if you and your partner are traveling, your partner will be sitting next to you. And chances are you'll swap driving duties at some point. But when you come to India, a car that size, chances are you're not going to drive your car except recreationally on the weekend with your family. So during the work week, it'll probably be somebody you've employed to drive. And if the best seats are up front, then you have two choices. One is sit next to your chauffeur, or you sit in the back and you say, okay, the best seats are there and I'll enjoy them on the weekend. I'm not uncomfortable here. Let me get to work or whatever.
And so the seats slide, and I'm leaving that for last because this functionality of the seat sliding is so that you can be comfortable in the third row. But the third row, or access to the third row. But the third row is, I mean, calling this a 7-seater is wrong. I think cars like this should just be called 5+2s, right? We said the same thing for the X-Trail as well, right? And that's basically it. The third row is for emergency use. While I could fit there at 5 feet 6 inches, I'm not tall, but would I want to sit there at all? No.
It's an emergency device, yeah.
Yeah.
Me and my partner were going on a date, which was date night, and then our neighbors decided to join us. You two go to the plus 2 rows.
Ekdam piche.
I want to discourage you from showing up on our date nights. Yeah, I get it.
So, and you can see it even in terms of the detail, right? Like what you'd think about for the third row, what creature comforts does it have? Does it have aircon vents? No.
USB port?
No. Cup holders? No. I mean, there's one cup holder on this side, and these are like those typical Skoda, simply clever things, right? There's a storage bin, and there's this rubber hoop at the side, like a band at the side. And it looks a little firm, so you wonder what it's there for. You go fiddle around with it, and it just pops up. And that becomes a space for you to park something. So third row clearly is like not a regular use third row. And definitely for adults, no, right?
Got it.
You could increase space by sliding the second row forward, but the seats are set low. It's not the place you want to spend time. In kids, I mean, smaller kids, sure. For some distances, they'll be absolutely okay. But again, the second row seats are tall. And this is something that we've spoken about in other cars as well. When the seats are tall and you're in the third row, the roof line is dropping down, it starts feeling claustrophobic. So kids sometimes do suffer from that. So you have to keep that in mind if they're going to.
And I'm assuming the window shoulder line is also high. So you're also restricted sideways.
Yeah, I mean, if they're small kids anyways, it will feel high. But they do have a window there. So there is glass area. So it's not closed in that way, it's fine, but you will be sitting low.
Got it.
Which also reminds me of the simply clever things that, like we spoke about the band in the second row. It also has where the transmission tunnel is. It has an organizer there parked. And this car, whatever you see in the pictures, we're driving the L&K. There are two variants, the L&K and the Sportline. So we've driven the L&K. I'll talk about the Sportline later.
L&K is the top of the line.
Correct. L&K is the 49 lakh or 48 lakh rupee car, 49 lakh. And
L&K stands for what? Location Kamesh. Hey, I don't know cars. Yeah, I don't know why you're laughing.
We'll go with that.
No. Hey, Skoda will get very upset with this. They're top of the line brand name. Come on, Lauren and Clement.
So that organizer is again really cool because there's lots more space to store stuff. I mean, these are the things that you expect from Skoda, and it's nice to always see that they put in a little bit more thought into these things. So does it have the umbrella holder slots in the doors? Yes, it does. Does it have umbrellas? Yes, it does. Does it have that door edge protector, that little thing that pops out at the edge?
Oh, yeah. The little tab that comes out,
Right? Now, this was there in the previous gen car as well. It's here as well. But you still, every time you see it, it's like, man, that's cool. That's nice. Even if I feel that it's more helpful for other cars that are parked around you than your car, really. But it's a nice thing. And I actually, when I was driving it also, for some reason, the one on the rear left door fouled a bit. So it wasn't retracting properly. So I was like, oh man, this is the problem with all these additional mechanical devices and all of that, complications. And I'm like, how do I reset it? So I opened the door a couple of times, it wasn't going. But it was really cool because all I had to do was put it out. I could feel it click and I released it.
And went back in, okay.
Nice. So it's a well worked out system. Clearly they've been through these issues and they've worked on these things. So third row, that's basically it, which leaves us with the boot. The boot is slightly larger than before.
Okay.
About 11 liters or so.
This is the overhang giving you a little bit more space.
So again, that's what I mean. The change in dimensions isn't dramatically changing how the vehicle works for you. This boot was a healthy size anyways with all three rows up. It's under 300 liters, which is not small. Right? You can easily pack a couple of overnighters and soft bags there comfortably. Of course, if you fold the third row down, and which is how you should be using it most of the time, you have
10 tons of space.
Whatever the numbers are, it's something ridiculous like that with the second row also folded down. So all that is there. Interestingly, and I like this, the car had a lot of stuff under the boot floor. So the boot floor, under that, there's the space saver. And it had a lot of luggage organization equipment. You know, like that steel bar that you can park in the boot, the luggage nets, all of that. And I asked Skoda, is this part of the car, are these accessories? They said, everything on the car
is standard equipment.
On
the L&K at
On
least.
the L&K. So these are not standard on the Sportline, but on the L&K they are. And that was great. I said, that's good. That's completing the experience of
Yep.
how you would want somebody to use this
Yep.
car, right?
Yep.
So, and even the retractable boot cover, all of that stores under the floor neatly. So none of it is eating space in the boot. It's
Very good.
sitting under the floor. So very nicely organized. They also have something called as the boot pedal. Then I'm like, yaar, ye kya hai?
Boot pedal.
Exactly. That's why I'm bringing it up. It's nothing like, what used to be the waving action that you had to do to open the boot. Now it's just this. So they've specifically said, do not move it like this. Move it up and down. Nonsense.
What is this, an aerobics class?
So that's the basic lay of the land with the car in terms of space and how you're going to use it. Which brings us back to, Simply Clever. One of the things that you will notice that is not there and was a fantastic feature was that, those headrest side bits that used to roll down and then you could catch a nap. They used to call it the sleep package.
Right.
So those headrests are not there anymore. So you will feel that this car is decontented, and in some ways, yes, it is. This is one of those things that's not there, and it used to be there earlier. But we asked Skoda, why is that the case? Laws. So EU has some new regulation under which 7-seaters cannot have these fold-out parts of the headrests.
Okay.
So I tried looking it up, trying to find where this was. I couldn't. If any of you do know it or have found it,
Please let us know.
you can please let us know about that. Another area of which you might not notice as decontentation, but it's not decontenting. This car gets 9 airbags. And I was looking at what's changed. Something's changed because now there's a center airbag, which they have labeled as center airbag. It sits between the front two drivers. So in case of a side collision, you don't go banging into the your occupant on the side.
Got it.
But it used to have 9 airbags earlier also.
So which one did they remove?
So the knee airbag is gone.
Okay.
So I asked them why. So they said,
Knee transplants are a stable system now. We don't need to pay attention to this anymore.
and this is why we don't realize so many other things. That they said, actually, we've changed the dashboard profile. So the area of impact that would have occurred earlier
Has moved further away.
Yeah, so you have more space, so you don't need that anymore. And I think that this car is also a 5-star rated car as it was earlier. So all of that is, you don't have to complain or worry about those things. So that's another small little detail that we found was interesting. The other thing that you will find, and let's get that out of the way, is that one feature which is prominent as a cool thing, especially for a car in this segment, as luxury cars won't have had it, is the dynamic suspension, which is now gone.
Okay.
What I remember about that setup was that I did not like it very much.
Okay.
It used to be a little bumpy and clattery. Didn't really feel settled on our roads. I believe, and I'm talking about, I drove the Kodiaq way long back. Like we first drove it in Mallorca when it was launched globally, where it was great. After that, when we drove it in India, it felt, even there actually didn't feel that good. But in India, then you found it a little clattery. But apparently they had improved on that over the lifespan of the car. Now the system is not here at all. So this setup, in effect, will be a very different setup compared to that, whatever we'd experienced earlier. Right? So let's get with that. So the ground clearance of the car has also gone up a bit. They've given the laden figure, which is great because when it's fully loaded, it'll be at least 155 mm.
Got it.
And looking at the car, I didn't know the number when I was driving the car. Looking at the car, and I'd taken it off the road onto this little space that I had. It's a lot. I didn't worry about it prior to that. I didn't worry about it after that for sure, because you can visually see there's a lot of room there. So the suspension, which was my least favorite part about the Kodiaq, what my memory of the Kodiaq is. And by and large, I'm treating this as a new car because it's been so long since I drove the Kodiaq.
Yep.
This setup is a good setup. It's a very competent setup. One thing I will suggest to you is to be, since we don't have a TPMS on this, be sure to check your pressures regularly, because when I did drive it the first time, when I didn't know the pressures, they were set at 34.
Right.
And when I drove it like that, I found that it felt a little bit harder over the bumps. But next day, when I had set it 236 and then drove it, it was a very different experience.
Okay.
It was a far smoother and a far more plush experience over the rough stuff.
Got it.
Right? So even over our roads, you can, the sharp stuff, like the sharp edges, potholes with nice cuts around them, it deals with all of that surprisingly well.
Your takeaway from that should be that this particular car suspension setup and the way the wheels and tires work with it, it is sensitive to changes in tire pressure. So if you'd like to stay comfortable and you therefore pay attention to tire pressures more often than you, or at least be more careful with it than often, you'd get a noticeable benefit from it.
Yeah. And because the tires, I forget which tires they are, right? So
The black rubber things.
correct. Which brand they are, whatever, you'll see them in the pictures. The point is that, different tires can have different characteristics as well. And clearly these tires like to be at that optimal pressure, higher pressure, so that they work well. Otherwise, they might be a little soft, which is why they end up squishing a bit, right? So the pressures really helped when it was set up right. And then it was city driving, it was highway driving, it was corners, bumpy corners. And through all of that, this car remains settled.
Nice. Okay.
It's not that it's absolutely smooth, but it's always like minimal fuss. It's going over those rattly roads and it just goes like lightly skips over everything and it's out.
Very cool.
Really good. Definitely. For a car, and you realize that this is a big car when you're driving it because it has a little bit of body movement. It'll have a little bit of roll. And when you're going through, like, I love how many of our, whether it's Pune or whether it's Mumbai, our flyovers have those lovely dips that we keep going through. Now, this big car is going through them and it softly settles into it. But when it comes out of it,
It's
it just
controlled.
comes and settles right back.
Nice.
There's no movement. It feels so controlled because of that. And it feels so mature. That part I loved. Without the fanciness of adaptive suspension and all of that, it felt so controlled. And even at different speeds, not just at low speeds, even at faster speeds.
So there are Kodiaq boats, but the Kodiaq, this current Kodiaq is not a boat.
Oh.
Good.
Despite, I don't know, without the adaptive suspension, we could have gone there. No, it's not.
Nice.
So it's a good car to travel in because of that, whether you're sitting in the front or in the back. So the back seat may not be the most impressive part of the car from a sense of roominess, but if you're sitting there, you don't have any reason to complain. You will travel comfortably over there. The hitch with the suspension is sound.
Okay.
The suspension always makes some kind of noise, right? When it's working, like that, it does that. Every once in a while, you hear a more prominent sound from the front, which is like a subframe sound when it's moving, right? So those kind of things. And trust me, this is not something to worry about. When you've had an expensive car, you'll know that one thing every expensive car owner does is, it makes that one sound, yeah. It's like a... Every car has something like that. There's the creaking from the roof or from the back seat or from the... all these cars have something like that. Now, this one has it. Initially, because of the sound, you will think that the car is not capable of dealing with our roads.
Got it.
Right? It'll happen. It's natural, right? You'll hear the suspension working and all of that. Like, maybe
I need to be more cautious with this.
You don't need to.
Got it.
I tried it. And I tried it over really bad potholes at speed, around corners, bumpy tarmac, really bumpy tarmac. It just stays set.
So it's a noise. It's not a real thing.
It's not a worry. It is again this thing of if it had to feel more lavish, if it had to feel... Now this price range we're sitting at about 50 lakhs. You're sitting in the X1, Q3...
X-Trail.
No. X-Trail territory, right? So you're thinking of the luxury cars, right? So these smaller things like the plastics, the sound aspect, those all kind of kick in and say that, it's not quite...
No, but yeah, see, I'm getting the clear impression from your impressions so far that this is a very competent car.
Yeah.
It approaches the idea of luxury with a very clear sense of we need to check off all of these boxes. Right. But to build that experience to, here's a luxury car for you, that's clearly not the intent of this car.
Yeah. I mean,
and if it was the intent, then they haven't actually achieved it either.
And so, which is why I'll come back to the Octavia, which is, I mean, it's been a while since I drove the Super. But the Octavia I drove a couple of years ago, and man,
Yeah.
you tell me to buy something else, I'd say, why? Convince me.
Correct.
Right? It's that. Like, it's complete for me in that car. The sense of luxury.
And the counter argument today would probably be the traditional Skoda service issues argument, which doesn't actually hold as much water as it used to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that feeling with the Kodiaq, and it's not to do, like, that's what I'm saying. Was the Octavia suspension just superb? No, it wasn't.
No, it wasn't.
Like, it had actually become soft. So if you were a driving enthusiast and how you thought about the Octavia that way, and say like, nah, it's a bit floaty.
It grew
now.
up and softened out a bit.
Yeah, exactly. It became a little uncle-y on that front.
Yeah.
But was it incapable of dealing with speeds, corners?
No, it just didn't have that sense of the previous Octavia's sense of
But the sense of
enthusiasm,
calm, the sense of effortlessness traveling in it was fantastic.
Got it.
Right? So this capability-wise is on.
Got it.
There's nothing. It's just that the sense of effortlessness, that is a little bit lower than I would have wanted or expected from the suspension standpoint and from the perceived quality standpoint. It's those plastic things.
Got it.
The engine?
6-liter V8, right?
क्यों तरसा रहे हो? 6 is the same 2-liter 4-cylinder turbo petrol, but it makes a bit more power than before.
So 212 bhp now.
204.
I was just guessing. I was so close.
Not bad. So it's up some 14-15 horsepower, something like that.
Okay.
Torque is about the same. The good thing is that the engine and gearbox work reasonably well together. And by reasonably well, I mean that they are effective for city use, they're relaxed on the highway. When you put it into sport mode and want to drive more enthusiastically, it's the gearbox that's doing the heavy lifting.
And this is a 7DSG again.
Yeah, correct.
And it's the only gearbox, only engine.
Correct.
Got it.
And this is a little bit of a backstory. There are different ways of doing your powertrains, right?
Sure.
So a great learning for us at one of the tests way back at Zig was like, I think when the Octavia RS came, we had the Octavia RS at the same time as one of the BMW 3 Series was, which one was it? It was a petrol with also a DSG gearbox, right? And similar, that was also a 2-liter with a DSG. So similar this, but front wheel drive, rear wheel drive, that kind of stuff. And driving them, the thing that we realized was that the philosophies of how performance should be delivered between the two was so different.
Right.
The BMW was engine strong. It was the engine that had to do the task of changing pace. So when you push down on the accelerator, it wasn't the gearbox that used to go pop, pop, pop.
The engine
it used to
would
be
wake
the
up
engine that would step it up, right? Whereas with the Octavia, if you just thought of touching the accelerator, the gearbox would have downshifted like 2 gears and pop, pop, gone.
Yeah.
Right? So a very different experience this way, very different experience that way.
Correct.
And that was actually the brilliance of the VW DSGs.
Right.
Now, I think over time, they have softened that. So they're not that snappy, that urgent anymore. I think it may have to do with longevity. It may have to do with just...
May also be the role. It means it's a Kodiaq. How fast do you want a gear change to happen?
But I don't think we see that same experience. I've not had that experience with the DSGs. Like even, you remember the Polo? That thing's DSG was nuts.
Yeah.
Even that was super snappy. So it's not a question of size. Even in a smaller car, the smaller engine, you had that same experience. Now with all of them, I feel they've all kind of softened and been dialed down.
Got it.
So that's what I'm saying. When everybody thinks about this gearbox, it's immediately, oh, DSG. It is good, but is it that greased lightning feel that it used to have? It's not that.
Right.
It works well. It's competent.
Yeah, and you should also know that gearbox tuning is a very, very old trick. Okay, when Lamborghini used to use the gearbox that they called the fire gearbox. Okay, when you put it in sport mode, it would run smoother. But when you drive it normally, it would give you the head nods. And the head nods were part of their experience. The gearbox didn't have to nod your head to go faster. Similarly, yeah, true. So we were driving the Gallardo Superleggera in Phoenix. And every time we tried to drive normally, it would be like this. Then we went to the racetrack and put it to max performance, and suddenly it wasn't jerking us around anymore. And then the Lamborghini guy smiled and said it's part of the experience. So on the street, you can't use full performance. So to give you that sense of, oh, you're on a Lamborghini, we let the gearbox become a little bit rough. So when you make a gear change, you'll feel it. But on the racetrack, that interrupts the torque flow to the tires. It interrupts the chassis balance. So there you can't mess around like this. So suddenly the gear change is smoother out.
And this would have been the AMT only, no?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, it was
The
the
Fire
AMT.
gearbox was an AMT style gearbox, yeah. And then similarly, when the PDK came to Porsche, which was considered the best dual clutch transmission at the time, we already knew that Porsche made great chassis and great engines, but the PDK took that to another level because it showed just how far you could push dual clutch technology to make it so seamless to use.
Seriously.
Porsche Doppelkupplung.
Porsche. First time I remember that gearbox.
Yeah, it was a good gearbox. What do you remember? I remember the gearbox, and I'm not even a car guy.
Seriously. There's a whole, I think, movement happening on circles to get you your GT2. Just FYI.
GT2 RS, okay, not just a GT2. Not
GT2. See, now it's clarified.
Come on, man.
We have to get Shumi his GT2.
Yeah.
Clarification. GT2 RS.
RS.
So, yeah. So, the engine gearbox combination, effective. Again, when you want to drive it quickly, it's relying on the gearbox. It's not that the engine is suddenly becoming more enthusiastic or alert or something like that. And even then when you drive it quickly, the sense is along with the suspension, the way the suspension is working, the way the engine is working, you don't think of it as sporty.
Right.
You think of it as fun. It is fun. And it has a lot of confidence. There's no two ways around corners. And I love this about how VW sets up their all-wheel drives. When you're in a corner, you'll come in at a point and you'll feel like the car is bending in the middle because the drive has increased from the rear. So it transferred more torque to the rear wheels. So now that started pushing the car as well.
Right.
So it just makes the car feel smaller and tighter.
Nice.
And when you feel that in this car, where the suspension setup, let's say, previously used to be in sport mode when you're driving like this, and it would be firmer and more
Yeah,
comfortable.
because it was dynamic, it could adjust. Now it can't.
Now it's just sitting in that mode, and when that happens, you feel it, and it's like, wow, that's an unlock. So all those things work well.
But you wouldn't buy this to be a fun car. This is a practical car that can approach that at some level.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's the idea. I think this is a car that people are going to pick for, I mean, I expect this to be slightly older people who are going to choose this to travel with, and their focus is to travel comfortably.
Got it.
Right? Without hassle. And for that, it's more than enough. If you get into the mood of ever saying, no, I want to do a little bit more, I think you can rest assured that there's enough capability. Does it have that engagement if, let's say, that gentleman's son then decides to drive? No. The steering is light, but it's precise. It's got the handling, all of that in place. And one of the things that I noticed on this car, and I was just so happy to see also, is that when you sit in the driver's seat, the view out feels so nice and wide. And one of the things is that the A-pillar, you know how all new cars have the massive A-pillars? This one doesn't feel that massive. So it's a nice view out. So it's a good car to drive, even from a functional standpoint like that. And talking about the functional things, I don't know if I think I've spoken about this in some of the other, one of the other cars. I think it was the BYD. I love this feature. When you put it into reverse, the mirrors adjust, they tilt automatically. It also has this.
Yeah.
And the good thing is that it has a software setting, whether you want it or not.
Got it.
So if you want it, it'll adjust. If you don't, you switch it off.
Yeah, I find it quite useful when it happens, yeah.
Because invariably, when I'm driving, then when I want to reverse, and nowadays you have to be like really sticking it next to the wall or to the curb. So there you always have to tilt the mirror down and check it out. It does it instantly.
Nice.
So yeah, so it's an easy car to drive. And even driving it, I drove it about 200 kilometers. And in that time, the sense of it was, yeah, I can keep going.
Effortless.
That's it. So that's what, it's a competent car. It's an admirable car. Does it tug at your heartstrings immediately because of what it does and how it does things? No.
Maybe not, yeah.
But as you spend more and more time with it, you will definitely respect it more.
It's a car you can get used to very easily.
Yeah. And people who buy these cars, what I have seen, are people who understand this.
Yeah.
Appreciate that, like, let's say they would probably want an Octavia Superb, but they say, I want to travel and I want it hassle-free, and so this works for me.
Got it. Yeah,
Right?
makes sense.
So that's basically it.
Got it?
Okay, before you get to the quick summary, a couple of things I'll quickly get out of the way. One, it has more features of those simply clever things. Door pocket dustbins.
SE project.
Door pocket dustbins, and it has tablet holders, phone holders mounted behind the front seat headrest for the rear passengers. Massive.
Yeah, because there's no point looking out at the world anymore. We might as well be looking into the digital world. Yeah.
Those are also standard. Yeah. And the other thing that we have to talk about, and move on from quickly, is the Tiguan R-Line.
Okay.
Because that's also launched. These two have come practically side by side. And they're in many ways the same car.
We'll come back after the quick summary to the Tiguan. Just hold on to it.
Yeah? Okay.
Yeah. Time for the quick summary of the Skoda Kodiaq SC project. SC being simply clever. Sorry, I had to. So the Skoda Kodiaq has been updated after a really long time. And what I've understood from what Kartikeya has told me about this car is that it's a very competent, comfortable, likable car that people will really enjoy owning. It has up the luxury quotient on many different directions also. But it's not a car that you would think of as, oh wow, so luxurious, because that's the one thing that Skoda has missed in the big picture. Small details, not hard to fix, but they're not there in the car right now. To get those out of the way, the dials can feel a little bit plasticky, and these kind of small details here and there where you're touching and interacting with the car, those details could have been a little bit more upmarket, but the rest of the car actually really works. To start at design, this will look like a larger car, and it is in some small ways, but it will look like a larger, beefier, meatier car than before, and that does raise its appeal. Updates to the LED elements here and there, the way the back looks, slightly longer overhangs, it does give you the sense that this car has grown in size, and that will help you justify the fact that the price has also gone up 7 to 8 lakh rupees. The engine is a 2-liter inline 4. It has a 7-speed DSG gearbox, and what Kartikeya again said is you can have fun driving the Kodiaq, but what it's built for is to be again confident, competent, and easy to drive. The best seats for this car, they are in the front row. The driver and the passenger seats are huge. They are very comfortable. They are tall, so you do have to change your usual driving position to find the comfortable driving position in the Kodiaq. But once you do, you're looking out at a very wide view. The A-pillars don't intrude much. It is a really nice place to be. But if you are chauffeur-driven, you're in the second row. These tall seats in the front might block your view a little bit, but those are also really nice and comfortable seats. That row can slide back and forth to release space for the third row. But if you have small kids, third row, you're okay. If you have friends, third row, I don't know how long they'll stay friends if you keep making them drive sitting in the third row for long distances. Short distances, everybody's fine. The Kodiaq already had a very usable boot earlier, still does. Under the boot floor, there's a lot of organization and simply cleverness going on. Much of it actually makes sense. We drove the Lauren and Clement edition, which is the top of the line, so a lot of stuff in there is standard. If you buy the lower version, which is called the Sport line, some of those luggage nets, etc., may not be part of standard equipment. We found them really useful. So if you do get the lower version of the Kodiaq, I would invest in a luggage net and the steel bar that holds luggage in place, etc. If you think Skoda's accessory prices for those items are too high, look in the aftermarket, but these are useful things to have in the car. I'm assuming that the drawers or whatever into which these go will obviously come in the boot floor. No full-size spare wheel, it's a space saver. The bigger picture of the car is a lot of the cabin elements have been updated. So it's a fresh looking dashboard. It's a completely redesigned profile. Also, there are very clever new surfaces, like the one that really got Karthik's attention is on the door pad. It looks like a waxy surface to the point where he wanted to take a nail to it and see if it will peel off. So it encouraged him to interact with that surface, but obviously it's just a surface finish. It doesn't actually get damaged from it. There's leatherette in what used to be soft touch plastics earlier. The stitching looks clever and it's really nicely done. What you will see is the usual Skoda language for all the digital elements in the two screens that you'll see, but they've been updated to match this Kodiaq's appeal. You've got a 13-inch screen in the middle. A lot of controls have moved into the screen, which we're not always a fan of, but the UI UX is relatively easy to use, so it's not a big deal. But then, for example, if you're looking for the hill hold function just to turn it on, it's buried in a menu somewhere, so you will have to struggle with it a little. You've also got 3 circular dials that are multi-function dials. The middle one you can actually set as a shortcut to whatever you prefer to set it to. But if you're, for example, dealing with the air conditioning, cooling, ventilation, etc. functions, they're all on the same dial, and you'll have to keep going through sequentially that menu to find the one you're looking for, which is, I think, a press inward, and then rotate it to adjust it. It's a little fiddly, but it does clean up the interior a little bit. Take your pick. The center console between the driver and the passenger, very clever, lots of space, 2 wireless charging pads, 2 fairly spacious cup holders, and then there's more storage. And I think one of those storage converts into a third cup holder, and Skoda's famous for doing this kind of thing, umbrellas in the doors and you name it. What Skoda didn't get right this time is if you buy the Kodiaq and you can't find the tire pressure label, you're not alone. It's not where you expect. It's in the rear left passenger door. We don't know why.
Right.
Rear right passenger door. We don't know why. It's a strange place to put it, but hey, it's there. What we also realized from driving this car is this particular tire suspension combination is very competent. It's very comfortable, handles bad roads really well. You will hear the suspension work a little bit, which might worry you initially, but you need to get over that because it's just a noise. It's just could have been insulated better, isn't insulated enough, and that's it. There's nothing actually wrong with the car. And this car is sensitive to tire pressures. So if you stay at the 36 PSI Skoda recommends, the ride quality is really good. If you go down to 34, you're going to feel the sharper bumps a little bit more in the cabin, and that is easy to tune out when you set the tire pressures right. Which also means as you drive this new Kodiaq around and you wear these tires out and go to new tires, you will get a slightly different experience, which would be the case if the tires are sensitive to stuff like this. Overall, big picture, more luxurious than before for sure. All the usually clever Skoda touches that we expect, they're all over this car, and it really does make living with the car easy. The Lauren and Clement edition, it does feel luxurious enough, but there are small gaps in this picture which Skoda could work on. And in the facelift, if some of those plastic elements that you constantly touch could be upgraded to something that feels like metal, it would be better. He has said this about other Skodas before too. For example, the little rollers on the steering wheel that you'd use, he'd said they were plasticky earlier for which car?
Slavia.
For the Slavia. Continues to feel plasticky on this car as well. The upshot of this story is the Kodiaq would be a good car to own. If you're looking for a comfortable, competent car that will take you long distances happily, easily, keep you comfortable, isolate you from the bad roads, etc., all of that, yes. If somebody younger in your family wants to borrow your Kodiaq and have a little bit of fun, they can. But is it an out-and-out fun car? It's not meant to be. It's meant to be a spacious, comfortable car. And on that front, Skoda has more or less, as far as I can tell, nailed it.
Yeah.
Price?
So it's so that's the thing that we didn't talk about. The Sportline. The Sportline is more affordable. It's 46. I'll put the price up.
So if I don't buy the Nissan X-Trail, I can save 4 lakh rupees and get a Kodiaq Sportline.
Yes, sir.
So there's a good idea.
If you can get an X-Trail. And the Sportline is a sportier looking car. All the chrome bits on the outside are blacked out. The cabin is all black.
This is like that Camry thing that that Toyota did, where there was a luxurious version of the car and a sporty version of the car.
No, that they've done a customization for India. This is something that Skoda always does with their cars. They always have a Sportline, which is the sportier appeal kind of car. And in this case, it's the typical stuff, right? Like blacking out elements so that it looks sportier. The cabin, the same way, is finished in black. And
big spoiler on the roof.
No, it also misses out on a few features. Oh, yeah, so that's one of the things that I didn't talk about. These seats also get massage function. I did not try it, which is why I forgot about it. But the Sportline seats, globally, they don't get ventilation.
Got it.
So that's not there.
So massage, but no ventilation on Sportline.
Yeah. And it also misses out on the 360-degree camera, which is why it also doesn't have that self-parking system. So these are some of the things that I know that it misses out on.
That's okay. My chauffeur can park the car for me.
But the plus with the Sportline is that it has better wheels. It doesn't have those...
Yeah, I forgot to mention in the plasticky bits that one of the things that really annoyed him are these plastic inserts in the alloy wheels. From a distance, they look fine, but when you go up close, they just look plasticky, and he's not happy about it.
And the plastic inserts can actually be removed. Okay, so you can remove the whole thing. But the thing is that the Skoda emblem sits on it. So once you remove that, there's nothing underneath that. So the wheel will look incomplete. So that, and I asked Skoda, is there an emblem underneath? Because I tried pulling it off, but it felt a little like, I was going to break something. So we just left it. So I asked them that if I managed to remove that, is there another emblem inside? Or is there some way to put it this? No, there'll be no emblem there. So
that's not very simply clever.
So I asked them, are you going to do a different wheel option? So as of now, there are no plans. So that's the sad part over there.
Okay. Is the Kodiaq a popular car for Skoda? Has it traditionally been?
Yeah.
It has.
So that's the other thing that we have to also talk about, because Skoda assembled the Kodiaq in India. And that's one of the things that surprised people, that the assembled car is only a lakh or so cheaper than the Tiguan R-Line, which is its cousin. The thing you have to keep in mind is that this is a 7-seater, it's a bigger car. And also because it's being assembled here, it has lower duties, but then they also have the operational costs, etc. We asked Skoda for clarification. Why is the gap so narrow? They said, we cannot comment right now, but keep in mind that all companies right now have been put through a little bit of a strain with regards to imports, right? And duties. The government has asked for penalties. So I think maybe they've reconfigured how they are calculating the duties. Maybe there was some assumption. So we don't know. This is just guesswork right now, but they are playing it safe and working with this. So that is one part of it. And that brings us to the Tiguan R-Line. So same engine.
The Tiguan is the larger one. The Tiguan is the smaller one.
Yes, sir. He's doing it on purpose so that I start fumbling with Tiguan.
I remember it like this. I remember it as the slower car has artificial intelligence. The smaller car has artificial intelligence. So Tiguan.
Well done.
The larger car does not have artificial intelligence.
I had to go back
so
to think which one is Tiguan and Tiguan. So yeah, so the Tiguan R-Line has come in, and it's in one variant only, I think. And yes.
Called what? Low line? R-Line? F-line?
R-Line. So
R-Line.
We haven't spoken about it at all, and that's the obvious conversation to have. But that's because we split them up.
Okay.
We have driven the Kodiaq, and we said we're going to drive the R-Line only after we have done with this conversation, so that it's a fresh perspective for the Kodiaq, and the R-Line will have enough of a gap, and then we'll talk about it. So how do these two stack up, and what's the difference between them? We'll talk about that when we come to the R-Line.
Fair enough.
So that's basically it. Fuel efficiency, I also wanted to mention, because that's something I looked out for. City, between 7 to 10, typically in the 7 to 9 range. Highway, on the expressway, specifically cruising. I checked it out on the way back from Lonavala to Pune, and it was 17, which is not bad at all.
Yeah, not bad for a car this size.
Yeah, agreed. Not loaded, but cruising at 100, it's not bad at all.
Very nice. Yeah.
So yeah, that's the Kodiaq.
You'd recommend it to a large family, not a large family, but a family looking to travel, go outside?
I would, if somebody was interested in getting the Kodiaq, I really have no reason to say don't get one.
Okay.
It's a competent car, and I know you will admire it more the more time you spend with it, as long as you walk in with the right expectations that this is not going to be out and out lavish.
Got it.
Right? That's about it. As long as you accept that, I think everything about the car, everything else that it does for you as a mobility system for you is so good.
Good. Last question. It's a Skoda. Living with it is going to be impossible, right? Because the dealers, I mean. It's a traditional question. And if we don't ask this question about a Skoda car, then you'll be in the comments saying, hey, bro.
So the only thing I can say for this is that would they have licked every problem that they can? I don't think so.
But they have come a long way.
They've come a long way. And they have taken as many steps as they can to help you protect yourself, right? They had a ridiculous, I don't know if it's still there or not, but they had brought in the 6-year warranty, which was, and this was back when everybody was at 3 years. So they brought in a 6-year warranty. So my default for all of this is, if you like a vehicle enough and that makes you happy, then this is a price I would pay.
The PMC, the preventive maintenance contracts, AMCs, whatever it is.
I would get all of it, because what it does is that it's locking in your experience for that amount of time.
Correct.
It's as simple as that.
Correct.
Like it's even when buying luxury cars, friends who are buying them always say, whatever you're doing, get the longest warranty you can, get the service contracts that you can, because what that means is, in this period,
anything happens,
joy of owning a luxury vehicle,
you have backup,
is intact.
Got it.
Because it's their responsibility to make sure that the car is okay.
Correct.
Anything you do stupid, that's a different factor altogether.
So getting an extended warranty for the Kodiaq and getting whatever AMC is available to the largest possible coverage of time would be simply clever.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And like we had spoken even at the Kodiaq time, remember what Peter Yanba had said, that it's better to take that, the warranties, so the service packages in advance, because it just simplifies things when you turn up at the dealership. Because you are expecting to incur this cost. Anything that's a deviation out of that is highlighted. So it again increases the satisfaction out of that. Right?
Makes sense.
So that's basically it.
When are you getting it for the view?
I don't know. First R-Line.
All
What's
right.
happening with you?
Nothing actually.
Yeah.
I'm just out riding motorcycles because we are chock full.
It's like we're swapping. Like there was a time when I was traveling back to back, and
Yeah.
then he was traveling back to back, and now it's swung back this way. So we have a bunch of drives coming up
Yeah.
over time, over the next
Bye.
month.
Tata.
Over the next month or so. So we're going to drive the R-Line.
Huh.
We've got invites for the Altroz facelift, and we already have invites for the Karens. So which will be a Karen's step up and not a Karen's facelift.
So Karen's Krista.
Karen's limousine. Karen's limousine.
Karen's limousine, people won't understand. Karen's Krista, they will.
Bad reference, because Karen's is not the Innova flavor at all, right? So that just puts it in a pickle then. And then in June, that's much later, but we're expecting more stuff before that. June also Tata will have another event, which we're guessing is the Harrier EV. So this is the lay of the land. But considering that the Karen's invite has come, so between that and June, I think we'll also see the Karen's electric.
Okay.
So all that will also happen.
Nice. I like the fact that you're so busy, Karen.
Stuff has started moving again, man.
It's good. Yeah, it's good.
All right.
Yeah. Thank you so much for watching. If there's anything more that you'd like to know about the Kodiaq, which we haven't answered, please do leave us a comment. As usual, we prefer that you comment on the app. It's just easier for us to track, but wherever you'd like is absolutely fine. We try and get to all the questions that we get. We didn't do QFCs this time, as we said. So if you go to the app, if you're watching on YouTube, you go to the app, you're looking for the QFC chapters. That's questions from circles. They're not there because this happened on really short notice, this recording, so we didn't have time to ask questions. We will probably also not do them for the 2.0 because the questions, as it turns out, are obvious and we'll answer the obvious questions. So we're not going to do QFCs for the 2.0 as well. And therefore, what you should know is there's a lot of vehicles coming in. So there are more MotorInc First than we can release to YouTube. So if you check on the app, there might be episodes that you've not seen yet, but are already playing there. Now, before we sign out, a quick shout out to Apollo Tyres for supporting the MotorInc community. On that note, thank you so much for watching. We'll be back with more MotorInc First very soon because it's proving to be a busy year.
And I must say, not all the MotorInc First videos are for members only. Shumi decides. Some of them come out.
Yeah.
So do check it out.